Welcome everyone to the October Stockton Astronomical Society meeting. And tonight we have some interesting speakers. I'm going to let Jeff talk to you about that. But first I have three announcements I'd like to make, and two of them are very simple and quick. First of all, elections are coming up next month. If anyone is interested in running, we do have people that are on the ballot, going to be on the ballot already, but there's room for more. So if anyone wants to do it, think about it, and then we can have nominations before we have the election. And if you decide you want to run, you might just want to say something about what you plan to do or what you'd like to do, and that would make it easier for everyone to make a decision. Okay. The second one, I'm drawing a blank here. Hold on a second as my old mind gets to work here. Please stand by. Please stand by, folks. This one is really important. Club dues are due in October. I just gave Jerry a check for my club dues. So if I'm going to set an example, I need to do this. So please, everyone, it makes it easier for Jerry. It makes it easy for all of us. The way we work is we do need some working capital. We have some, but it would be nice to have it on a timely basis. Okay, that being said, I'll let the first two go. The next one is really interesting, and we've had good fortune. And that is that we were planning on having our meetings here. There are some disadvantages that I think about being here. One is that it's really dark out here at night. I'm not too thrilled about being out here, especially for a lot of reasons, but also the weather itself probably would keep this place a little warmer or cooler at the wrong time. So anyway, through some negotiations and everything, San Joaquin County Office of Education has offered us a room on Arch Road, and it is really state of the art. It's a really, really nice room in a large, safe area with air conditioning, heating, a lot of things, which so far tentatively we'll be able to use in November. We have some paperwork to finish first, maybe not November, December. I'm sorry, December. With that in mind, this is something that I think is going to work out well. Also, when we met up with Annie Cuneo, which is in charge of that, we did ask her if we could have a potluck, whatever, for our installation dinner, if we could have it there. And she said, certainly. Now, there's no alcohol involved, but other than that, we can have either a potluck or probably more realistically, just cater it in there. So what I would like to know from all of you is how many of you would like to do something like this? Is it even something feasible, or is it something that, yeah, you know, we haven't had it in a few years, who cares? So all of you, if you're interested, would you go ahead and raise your hand or say aye or something, so at least to note this, there's some interest in this. So here, with us, everybody's raising their hand. I think most of you, yeah, you don't know what it's for. You didn't raise your hand. Oh, here we go. All right, so this is something we'll talk about in future meetings in the next month or so. And I think this is good. Jeff, did you want to add anything or explain where it is or anything about it?
Well, it's a really nice facility, and the room that we have is pretty good. And there's a possibility that we might be able to occasionally use their better room. There is one drawback, and that is that when we're at UOP or here at the Nature Center, we pretty much had all night. We don't get all night at the San Joaquin County Office of Education. They're gonna pull us out somewhere around 8:30. So we would pretty much need to have an earlier start time, either 7 or 6:30, or completely do away with the soft start. We could still do our hybrid thing, but 8:30 rolls around, they're going to boot us out because of security time. So that's the one drawback. The other nice thing about it is it's 1 minute off the highway. So even if you're not really close to it, you can get to 99. It's only 1 minute off of the highway.
Okay. Yeah, I think once you get to see this place, I think you'd be very comfortable with this. Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, I just moved back to Cali after nearly a decade on the East Coast. That's in Stockton?
Yeah, right by the airport.
Okay, okay.
Arch Road. Yeah,
cool.
It's the San Joaquin County Office of Education. There are a number of buildings there. and they're state of the art. It's very, very nice. And
Okay.
so we're really blessed to have this. We really lucked
That's
out.
awesome.
Okay, so I think tonight we have a real treat for everyone. We have a group of 3 people who've been amateur astronomers forever. I've gotten to know Bill fairly well. The other 2 not as much, but I have met them when they've been observing up there in high altitude. So I'm going to have Jeff introduce them, and let's have some fun.
All right, we have Bob Jarrett, Mark Teixeira, and Bill Litel, and they are the AAU, and I'm not going to tell you what AAU stands for, but we'll just assume that it's got something to do with astronomy. If you're from
Stockton Astronomical Society.
here, that's what it is. Yeah, that's the ticket. These guys have their 22-inch f5.7 that looks like they drag it around on a howitzer trailer. And it's a very well-performing telescope. And they have a couple other scopes, but sometimes they're at Fremont Peak, sometimes they're at Peddler Hill, sometimes they're at Iron Mountain, sometimes they're somewhere else. And they've been friends since they were fetuses. And they are really deep sky killers. They just tear the sky apart. So for tonight's program, we had a request. I don't know if that girl made it to the meeting here or out there in Zoom land, but we got a request to do some basic astronomy. Eric, do you remember who that was from?
I think her name was Anna.
Anna. And I could see there that she's not with us tonight. So maybe she'll see this on a recording, but the basic astronomy idea was, okay, so let's have 3 skilled observers explain to us their favorite fall, winter objects that they enjoy looking at the most. And when we get done with that, we might have some kind of a roundabout on some of the science on those objects. So I'm going to stop talking, let these guys take it over. So do you have a microphone, Bill?
I do, yeah.
Okay, I'm going to just quit talking, let those guys do their thing. 2 of them are on Zoom and 1 of them's here. Okay, thank you, guys.
So Bob, I know you sent me the presentation, but if you guys want to share it so that you can control the progress, by all means, go ahead. I really just had you send it to me so that I had it just in case for a backup. But however you want to proceed, let me know.
I can share, no problem. Here we go.
Well, and while Bob is doing that, right, I'll let him cue it up.
There you go.
There we go. All right, that's us right there. I'll get started here. I thought that, before we looked at some fall objects, fall deep sky objects, I thought we'd share with you a little bit about some of our favorite locations that we've been to. For us, we've been at this for 44 years. This has been a journey. We've all grown up together, the 3 of us. If we're thinking back about this going, we've kind of graduated from franks and beans and adding corn to lavish meals with, New York steaks and marinated pork chops and having maybe a little beverage in there to go along with it. So it's been for us an evolution of time and a lot of travels, and so I thought I'd just share with you some of our favorite locations that may be a benefit to you, and if not, it's just share with you a little bit about our journey, and then Bob can get into looking at the fall objects. Okay. So, obviously for us, as Jeff was alluding to, Fremont Peak's our home base. We founded our telescope, that telescope from Kevin Burns. It was an Earl Watts mirror, and it was just a crude Dobsonian telescope with just a basic cruddy ground board and a super high base system and a large box. And Bob and I, the first time we saw it, we were just like, oh my God, we had some time with it. And we were able to, this guy disappeared for a while at Fremont Peak. And we were able to, we figured out that he probably was in over his head. He had built this telescope. It has that trailer you see in the background there. It's a 48 Dodge pickup. But he was in over his head. He definitely had too big of a telescope for a one-man band. And here's Bob and I and Bill, and we're young guys in our 20s, and we're like, yeah, we want to get our eyes on this. So we made him an offer, okay, and I think the offer was like $2,500. Bob, somewhere around there.
$2,000. He was asking 24.
Okay. Yeah, it was
And we,
$2,000.
and then he broke down and said 2,000.
And it came with a 10-inch RFT. Okay.
Six.
Oh,
6
sorry,
inch.
6-inch RFT. Got it. Right.
Yep.
And you know, we had to go up Priest Grade Road. It was up there in a barn. It was beat to hell, but the mirror was in good shape. And we brought it back home. We rented a truck, brought it back home, and then we went to work on it. And we were able to start cleaning it up. And it's been through a number of evolutions, as you can see in the background there. We lowered the profile of the rocker. We added a Tom Alsopowski equatorial platform, and that's just heaven. We put a machine precision focuser. We put a new tube on it. We shortened the boxes and tried to make it lighter, but it's not much lighter, I would say, and that's where, Jeff's helping us, and we're working down the road of moving towards a truss as we get closer to retirement. But we love this thing just the way it is. It's beautiful, and it's our baby blue 22. Okay. So, Fremont Peak for us is it's home. The conditions are okay. You get laminar flat air coming off the ocean. If the fog moves in, you can have a magical couple hours up there, and that's what you got. And it's for us, for Bob and I, it's an hour. It's a 90-minute drive. It's a lot more for Bill. Even when Bill was in Tracy, it was a 90-minute drive, but Bill's always been up there. Okay. And the very first time I went to Fremont Peak, it was John Dobson was doing a San Francisco Sidewalk astronomer talk. And that was our very first time looking through a telescope and looking at the Orion Nebula. And then my brain was blown at that night, realizing we could do these types of things. So Fremont Peak's home. It's about 3,400 feet. Right now, with all the urban lights around it, Salinas and Hollister growing, it's not as great as it used to be. But if you get the fog in, it's pretty good. While we were doing this, we've always had a quest for deep sky. We quest of aperture and quest of deep sky. You got to get altitude. We want dark skies. So we found Saddlebag Lake. It's Junction Campground off of Highway 120 in Tioga Pass. It's easy access for us. It was easy for us to get to. You could set up in a meadow. People drive by on 120 and see you. It's like, oh, well, a little lights until about 11 o'clock and then it's quiet. We actually had a visitor that came by and stayed with us for like 3 days. Okay, so and then for the next like 10 years, he was in constant touch with us, and he brought a telescope around, but he stuck around. He had eyepieces, and he had a dog. He had a really cool dog, and he just hung with us. And it's a great place to go because you can meet other campers, and we had our quiet time, and the sky is just fine up there, and the altitude was good, about 9,000 feet, somewhere around there, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the mornings when you wake up, man, you're looking at these jagged peaks around you, and it's spectacular. So nothing wrong with Saddlebag Lake.
A little bit of fishing too.
Pardon me?
A little bit of fishing if you like.
Yeah, if you did, yeah, we never did that. We were drinking out of the river, and this guy was warning us about Giardia, and we were just kids. We didn't know any better. He goes, "You ever heard of this?" No. I don't think so. It's like, you better boil your water. All right. It's ice in the hold, though. So anyhow, that was, and while we were doing that, we're still always looking for better places, always looking for higher locations, always looking for the grail of observing, right? And that kind of took us on an adventure. We went to Stockton. We took Highway 168. We just kept driving on 168. Past Shaver Lake, past Huntington Lake, the road ends, and all of a sudden we're on this kind of rural road that takes us all the way up to a pass, and you look to your left and there's a clearing, and we're like, this is nice. It's about almost 10,000 feet. When you're 25 years old or 27 years old, you don't care about altitude. You don't, huffing and puffing doesn't bother you any. And this was Kaiser Pass. Okay. And again, what we did at Saddlebag Lake was probably 5 or 6 years. Like, if we find a spot, we stick to it. We just keep going to it. Kaiser Pass was the same way, man. We started going up there. When this one guy, Steve, that we met, at Saddlebag Lake, followed us there. there. He started coming up and meeting us there, and he brought telescopes and he cooked, and he was a great cook. And then we were kind of learning about food at that time. We're getting better at it. And by then we were graduating from pork and beans or Chef Boyardee cans of food, because anything just to stay up there. We'd stay for a week. We'd go for a week back then too. Like trips weren't overnight. They weren't 2 days. They were like a week. Up to Kaiser Pass was the same way, much better in altitude. Wow, 9,000 feet. Okay, it had a bathroom. We're like, woo. Fantastic transparency, fantastic viewing. We did that for, I don't know, 6 or 7 years, I believe, as well. And then one night we were up there and it was cloudy. Well, actually, before that, to get there, we went through one night. We had like this epic trip of like, we went through all conditions of weather. We went through Fresno and it was probably 105 degrees. We start climbing through the Sierras. We go through rain, sleet, snow. Okay. And then finally we climb out of the snow, we get to the top of Kaiser Pass and we're there. Okay. So it was like, we saw everything in one day. It was pretty amazing. While
And
we were
there
up
was
there,
the one time with the fire, we drove through a forest fire.
yeah, we drove through a forest fire. Yeah. We'd probably still be going to Kaiser Pass if we weren't 60 years old and probably dying of hypoxia trying to climb up a ladder, because that's what I remember. You get up to the ladder and you if you were breathing too heavy, you'd fog your optics, and that was a problem. But one night we were up there, and I think it was just Bob and I think Bill was coming up because he'd have to come up on a different time thing because he was in a different world, but he was coming from Tracy, and it was a thunderstorm, and we were hearing the boom, the lightning, and counting the booms, and they were getting closer and closer and closer, and then it started going away, and I think at that point in time we were like, and if you look around there, you see evidence of lightning. We saw trees that were burned, like total evidence of like exploded trees. You're out totally exposed, and we're like, maybe this isn't a good idea. Maybe we ought to go down a little bit, just drop down. And that, I think that right then and there, we packed up our stuff. And the next morning, realizing, where we were exposed, and we went down to between Shaver Lake and Huntington, and we started going to snow parks. Snow parks are paved. Okay, they're clean, they're paved, they're beautiful for that. They have bathrooms. All right. The drawback that really bugged Bob and Bill, not me so much, but Bob and Bill, is the horizons, because it's a snow park, so you have limited horizons. You got to wait for the objects to come around. But we're there all night. Who cares? And if you view with us, that with this equipment, we stay up all night. Okay, and we sleep and we camp. We never set it up and tear it down in one day. It was never been done. I don't think we've ever done that. Okay, we've always crashed. And Bob's got the camper. We did tents. We graduated to campers, but basically, we're basically an overnight group. Okay, so Shaver Lake offered those types of things. It was clean. It was a little easier to get to, and again, the horizons were decent, but not good enough for Bob and Bill. Good enough for me, but not good enough for them. And we did this again probably for like 5 or 6 years, and then we decided that we wanted to go on another venture and find some other locations, and we wanted to be a little closer. And we realized that Bear Valley, because I was skiing with my wife at the time, and Bear Valley is like 3.5 to 4 hours away, and we're like, okay, let's go there. And so we started going up Highway 4. And we realized that there was Spicer Camp right there, and it's another snow park. And we were able to enjoy, again, the same type of situations that we had at Shaver. I kind of put those all together, the whole snow park experiences that we had, until a national forest guy woke us up one morning and kicked us out for some reason. I mean, we had rangers that would come up and stay with us. I've had rangers come up with a 6-pack of beer and stay with us, for a night, and yet one guy just would not allow us to stay, and we had to pack our stuff and go. Okay, luckily it was our last night, and we were ready to go anyway, so it just worked out, and we haven't been back there ever since, unfortunately. in between those two locations, and those odysseys, Bob met a friend. He was a photographer where Bob worked, right?
Yes.
And he was a really good astrophotographer, and he had a 6-inch refractor. He took us to the White Mountains. He showed us the White Mountains, and that was like probably
Wasn't he published also in Sky and Scope?
He makes parts. Actually, you can get parts made from him. He's a great machinist, and I met him I walked in, his office was filled with pictures, and I'm like, "Did you take them?" He said, "Yes." And that was the end of that. We were friends at that point. But he's a great guy.
So that location is in we were up in, it was the White Mountains, but it was, it's 168 to Grandview Campgrounds. Okay, that's about 9,700 feet, White Mountains Road. So it's 168 to White Mountains Road, Grandview Campgrounds, and that was pretty awesome. It was like, man, the horizons, all the way down to the horizons, pitch black. Okay, you see a little glow where Bishop is, and that was it. It was absolutely, positively, utterly inkly skies, the best skies I've ever seen. Bill's been in the Coast Guard. He may have seen better, but that was pretty damn good. We started going there on a semi-regular basis. That's 9 hours for us. That's a long drive. You drive through 2 mountain passes to get there. You got to get through the Sierras. You go right past Saddlebag Lake on Highway 120. You drop down to Mono Lake, okay, and then you got to take 168 and start going south, okay. And it's a long haul. It was about 9 hours, I think. We've gone there at least 3 times. Once we went to the White Mountain Research Center. That's a UCLA and UC affiliated organization. And again, Bob's buddy and his organization was called the Skyscrapers. I don't remember his name, but his organization was called. There we go.
Yeah, and the Skyscrapers are a big organization out in the East Coast area.
Yeah.
They do a lot of work. Alan is one of his buddies, is an optician. And I said he was a machinist. They've actually rebuilt a Clark refractor from scratch. Al reverse engineered the telescope, pulled out his calipers and just went at it. And they got all kinds of awards for that.
Nice. So at the White Mountain Research Center, you could get a shower, you get a meal, and we just set up out in the meadow out there. It was up almost 10,000 feet, I recall. It's pretty high altitude stuff.
Yeah.
And a little bit of a grueling ride. It was like a 9-mile dirt road ride to get there. It's remote, but man, it was absolutely spectacular again. And you meet a lot of really cool people that are scientists up there, because it's a research center. So people are kind of upset that you're in the meadow and you're kind of traipsing around the meadow. But once we got them up to look through our eyepiece, they were having a good time. And it was spectacular. That's probably the darkest. And we always fit the White Mountains in, and we talk about it today, okay, in between our deep sky stuff. From Kaiser Pass and what we're doing at Saddlebag Lake, we were finding the White Mountains, and then ultimately this takes us to our journey around with you guys. Bill found you guys. He showed us Peddler Hill. All right, and I love the clearing out there that we were setting up at. We found there. First we were setting up looking at the Sierras, but there's some objects in the way. Man, if you go out to that one clearing area that's looking, I want to say, I think that's looking west, right? Southeast. Okay, but
Southeast, yeah.
Okay, the spectacular view of the Milky Way with the planets up was just incredible. Gives you great perspective of our solar system and the Milky Way together in the summer sky. So that's where we are now. We're always looking for other dark sky locations, want to get back to the White Mountains. But it's good to meet you guys and be spending time with you. And your organization has been really great with us in terms of like offering a bunch of old dogs some new tricks. And that's really great. You know, Bill's bringing in, you guys are bringing in new eyepieces, new technologies, big mirrors, and we love big mirrors. So and with that, I think I can hand it over now, Bob, to you, and you can talk about that's really what I wanted to cover. And I'll hand it over to you, Bob.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate it. Yeah, I've got a few slides I want to show everybody. Some of the tricks, actually, how we find things and whatnot is part of this presentation. So I think you're going to like it, especially if you're a real amateur, so to speak. So this is the boys here hanging out at Fremont Peak, telescope in the background. The campground right behind is Coulter Camp, and so there's some Coulter pines back there. We used to always camp back there, but started to get a little small for us, actually. But this is the first slide. This NGC 7331, and this is a must hit in the autumn skies and through the winter. It's a beautiful galaxy, in my opinion. You know, and that beautiful edge on. It's at 40 million light years away, magnitude 10.4. But the cool thing about this galaxy is it has these little companions around it, and they're like magnitude 15 at 335. But there's one here, one here, one here, one here. There's a little guy way out here, and there's another one over here. And I really like the perspective. I looked at the galaxy many times with smaller telescope before knowing about the rest of the galaxies, and then stumbling on them, you know, with the larger scope was pretty cool, I thought. One of the cool things about this galaxy is it takes you to another group of galaxies, which everybody talks about, which is Stephan's Quintet. So if you look, here's NGC 7331. Here's some of the galaxies around it, the other one down here. But if you just drift off here, this is less than a degree away, you run right into Stephan's. So Stephan's is a beautiful group people talk about. I actually have it on my credit card. One of those things, you know, but again, Stephan's magnitude 14 to 15. The cool thing about Stephan's, I think you guys are probably already aware of this. This galaxy is actually much closer at 40 million light years. And the rest of the group's kind of in this range, 210 to 340 million light years. You know, for me, it's pretty obvious that this one's closer. It's got H2 regions that I can actually see. And these were looking pretty far away and faint. But this is a great group. When we look at this stuff, we definitely see this kind of pattern with the 22. It's a really nice group to look at. You know, when the conditions are right, you know, you can spend a half hour staring at that without any trouble at all.
Hey, Bob, somebody was asking a question, what magnitude, and I'm not sure which slide they were asking about, but this one is 14, 15.
These are 14 to 15 on these guys. I think this one's probably the 14th magnitude galaxy, and then these are more than likely 15.
The question actually was, what is magnitude?
Oh, magnitude is the way we judge the brightness of objects. Like, for example, Sirius, I think, is -1 or something like that. You know, it's star brightness. And then galaxies tend to start around in the magnitudes. There's a few galaxies that are 6 magnitude, which is right at your visual range where you can actually see it in the sky, something like Andromeda. You can look up 6 magnitude and actually see it. And 33 also is pretty close to that. And on a good night, you might catch a glimpse of that. But they go down, I think, 2.5 in brightness per magnitude. I'm pretty sure that's right. And, you know, a number of galaxies, a lot of the brighter galaxies come around 10, 11, and then 12th magnitude starts to get a little fainter, and then they come down to 15. There are galaxies in the 18th magnitude, 23rd magnitude range. You know, Hubble looks in the 25, I think 26 magnitude even. So can't tell you what that Webb thing's doing. It's looking at stuff we can't see. So I don't know how you judge that magnitude. But this is Stephan's, again, nice group of galaxies. And I really like the way it's really easy to find something at 14 to 15 magnitude without having this guy pointing at it. A little difficult to find, but this really makes it nice. This is a showpiece object. You know, Mark was talking about the White Mountains. And when we were at the White Mountains, this was incredible. It's the only way to describe it. I mean, it was like ropes tied together and twisting and turning everywhere. As far as, you know, tracing the nebula itself, going around the arc, you couldn't get lost. There was no way. It was impossible to get lost. It was just so easy to see. I would, you know, if you've never been to a place like the White Mountains, highly recommend you go there. If you go past the, you know, the campground that Mark talked about is really good, and so it's all on the maps. It's easy to find, and really good spot.
It's AAU approved.
And very much AAU approved.
These are all AAU approved observing sites.
You know, if you're familiar with the Geigenschen, we looked up, you know, my buddy, we were with my friend Al, and he's like, he was all excited. I'm going to see the Geigenschen tonight. And I really didn't know what he was talking about at the time. And he explained it to me. I'm like, cool. And it was sort of anticlimactic because it was just right there. You know, you really didn't even have to look for it. It was there. It was so bright. Everything, you know, that dynamite location. If you get a transparent, you know, calm night up there, you're going to do nothing but just be flabbergasted by everything you look at. So everything's great.
I think that was a 4-hour object. The scope never came off of that object for like 4 hours.
Yeah, literally, you know, you start looking at it, it was really incredible. You know, it's like everything you look at looks different. Better than pictures, like I said, better than pictures. But that's a good one.
And on a clear night, you know, when you have really good conditions, you can just leave people up at the eyepiece and just let them take their time. You know, you know the night is a good night when people are just staying up there for you know 5, 7, 10 minutes. It's like no problem. Take your time.
Take your time.
Yep.
Okay. The next little showpiece I have for us, everybody's seen NGC 891. But again, it's a cool galaxy. You know, it's got the beautiful Edge-on galaxy. And again, it's another one that actually tells you how to find some fainter galaxies. It guides you to NGC or Abell 347. So if we come down here, here's 891. And all you have to do is just go straight out this way and bingo, you're in galaxy land right here. There's 20 plus galaxies here. This one right here is NGC 890. They're a little sister or brother, whatever you want to call it. And one of the books that got me going on a lot of this stuff was the Webb's Deep Sky Handbook of Clusters #5. And it's got a lot of Abell clusters. He goes through the Virgo cluster in detail. And then they go on, there's 25 or so Abell clusters that they have pictograms for and whatnot. So it's really pretty cool. If you're into the deep sky, they list magnitudes and everything like that, and you get finder charts. So it's pretty cool if you really want to go deep sky and see some things. Coincidentally, the November Sky and Telescope has a finder chart for the 20 galaxies that are in this field right here. So if you pull out that November Sky and Scope, it's a really good picture. The guy did a good drawing. It's really nice. This is one of the things I wanted to show you about how we observe. We're talking about Abell clusters. There's actually an Abell richness and distance groups. And the richness groups go from 0 to 5, and the distance go from 1 to 7. For telescopes of amateur style, you only have to go to the first 3 groups. You know, the other groups they're just way too faint, and the galaxies are too far away, so you really can't see them with anything that we would be able to get our holes on until we get that 40-inch, Jeff. But the distance groups, the richness groups are from, you know, you can see the numbers in here for how they work out. But if I zoom in here, you know, here's M33 or 31 and 33 over here. But if I zoom in here to where this is 891 right here, and you can see I've got circle on the map here, and that is Abell 347. And what I did was I went through and I put all the Abell clusters on here that were in that book and put on there, and it's got a little moniker here. It says 20 in the little circle here. There's 20 galaxies that you can look at there. Brightest one is probably 12.2. So that's how that works. This kind of started when back in like 82, went into the basement where the science library was at UC Santa Cruz. There was this Skalnight Plaso Atlas of the Heavens, and one of the some grad student had gone through. And if you're familiar with that atlas, it had about maybe a third of the galaxies had NGC numbers on them. And somebody had gone through and put all the NGC numbers on. So I immediately took that and Mark and I grabbed that and we put all the NGC numbers. And then later on, I opened up Berman's handbook and put all the SB 12.8 and that kind of stuff in there. So this is pretty action packed as far as what it has to look. And that's really, you know, at one point we were going to show favorite objects and it's like, well, favorite objects are what's on the page. And we find our favorites because, you know, they're all marked for us. So it makes it a lot easier. But there's some great groups down here. This is in the sky we're looking at right now. There's a Bell group here with 9 galaxies. There's another group down here. I think this one has 13. So these are all really cool things to look at. Here's Perseus A over here. You want to look at Perseus A, 20 plus galaxies in that field.
How old is that atlas, Bob?
This is the new atlas. This is the Sky Atlas. What is it? The 20. I forget. Let me just grab it. It's right here.
Okay, that isn't the old atlas that
The old atlas. This is the page that has the Coffee Nebula on it.
the
Okay,
Coffee Nebula. Yeah.
This is the Sky Atlas 2000, right here. Yeah, the Coffee Nebula, and there was probably about a mile of Scotch tape on that atlas, and at this point too, to hold the pages together.
so much moisture from the night.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone spilled coffee on our atlas, but never fessed up to it.
Never fessed up to it.
The atlas was just closed and put away, and we opened it and went, what?
Consequently, it's actually a double lobe nebula.
Yeah.
Better not be good.
For a lot of what we do, it's like, okay, what part of the sky am I looking at? Okay, there's Perseus or there's, Andromeda. You just open up to that page and say, what's there? And, it really makes it easy. You have all the magnitudes listed and whatnot. This kind of goes back to the question that the young lady or young woman had from last month where, hey, I pull out my iPhone and I look at the chart and I get blinded. It's like, well, no, you never do that because you've got a chart that's got everything on it. And I really think that makes a huge difference. And you've got your red light. That's a nice piece of the sky, in my opinion. Okay, let's see if I can make this thing go down. Frozen in space. Whoa.
Hey,
There we go, space. There we go. These aren't actually in the autumn sky, but I threw these in because we just love them. Everybody loves this group, the trio and Leo, 35 million light years away, 9th magnitude galaxies. These are just beautiful. I really dig that group. And then some people might not be as familiar with this group, this little Hickson 44. But again, this is a really cool group to look at. One eyepiece, no problem. You can look at this whole group in one field pretty much. You can select your eyepiece, accordingly. But the 80 to 100 million light years away and about 12th magnitude. Nice little Bart spiral there. And then this is also a nice little round Bart spiral down here. And you always see that edge on it. It's really cool, pretty darn cool. So again, a favorite group, 2 favorite groups. Well, man, this thing's flippy. This I put in, these are in the sky for us right now, M81 and M82. The big reason I put these in was some of the syrup that Mel was talking about before. I'm kind of wondering, when I found this picture, I was immediately thought, is that same galactic syrup that he was talking about? So I'm actually looking forward to getting in some dark sky and seeing if I can see that. But these are pretty, everybody knows these galaxies. Back in 2014 February, actually, I got to see the supernova that went off in here in M82 from my backyard. I thought that was pretty cool. Coolest thing I've seen from my backyard, I have to say.
With that, those two also, when Mark and I were up with Jeff at Iron Mountain, our first visit to Iron Mountain, we threw the 60 millimeter in the 12-inch scope and looked at those two, and they immediately became one of my favorite groups because it was almost like a photograph in a good picture book. It was just incredible, dust lanes and all.
Yeah, that's one thing that I think, a lot of the stuff we look at, if it's a good night, it looks like photographs, especially when you're in a dark location.
mhm.
Not Hubble stuff, but you know, better than the pictures you saw in Berman's back in the day, or just as good.
Can I interrupt for a second?
Sure can. Please do.
Yeah, go back to that last picture. You guys are forgetting the most important part of this picture. That's the Nurly Bobs. And
There's lots of, what's this little guy? I don't
There's
know,
barely
maybe.
pops all over that booger.
This area looks really strange to me, though. I mean, it's so dark right here with this edge. I don't know, it might just be a photographic artifact, so to speak, but I really like that picture. Most of the,
galaxy that got this flung out from in a collision. There was a collision and that last galaxy got all flung out. That's all.
this guy right here.
No,
No, your Doc Nebula there.
the loop that goes from above him, yes, that one right there.
Okay, yeah, you were breaking up.
That's remnants from a galaxy that passed through M82 or M81. And it's got all strung out. Now that guy off to the top left, have you guys actually ever seen that in the scope?
This
That
here,
one. Yeah.
you know, I'm not sure. You know, I started looking at some of
Think
these
so.
pictures, and I started
Yeah.
questioning myself about those same kind of things, Jeff. To
Right.
be honest, I'm like, have I seen that?
That's a good
If
one.
I
Now
have,
we're gonna
it
look
did
for
not-
it.
Yeah, now I'm gonna look for it. The,
I would say so.
If I did, I didn't notice it. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe it was like, oh, there's a background galaxy, something like that. Because a lot of time there's a lot of that goes on. It's like we're looking at, you know, something, and you scan around and it's like, gosh, I'm seeing other galaxies around here. And, you know, do you want to take the time to pull out, you know, a Unimetra chart and see if you're actually seeing something or not? Well, sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But a lot of time you don't, in my opinion. And you just kind of go on and look at something else. But
If you look to the lower left of M82, below that star, right there, I believe that's an integrated flux nebula.
okay,
And that may actually be observable.
that's cool. Yeah.
Okay, we have an assignment next time we go up.
Yeah. Mark, are you taking notes?
Homework.
I'm gonna, you know, definitely want to look
Taking
for that.
notes. Yeah.
Okay, let's see. What do I got next here? Oh, just a bunch of face-ons here. M51, everybody looks at that. Last thing I heard was these are part of the same galaxy, or saying they are you know, actually interacting. At one point that wasn't true, and I'm pretty sure now that's a true statement. But things change in the astronomy community. You got to watch out, you know, as time goes by. Beautiful galaxy, 8.4 magnitude, Cancer Neces. M101, another beauty in Ursa Majors at 7.9. This one's a little fainter to look at. It's a huge face-on spiral compared to this one. If you
I think both of those you can see H2 regions
Definitely.
clearly, beautifully.
Right.
Yeah.
you know, talking about H2 regions, you led me into M33 right here.
Right.
And this picture, I'm going to zoom in a little for you guys. This is from an astronomy picture of the day. And they went through and they numbered all of the nebula and whatnot in here, star clusters. This is one that everybody is probably fairly familiar with, number 15 here, which is actually has an NGC number. I think it's NGC 604 is what I'm seeing there. But, you know, generally, you know, when we look at this galaxy, we see that we always see these H2 regions in this galaxy. And they, you know, it's like, it's pretty darn cool, in my opinion. You can trace the spiral arms all the way into the center in many cases when the conditions are right. And if you really wanted to make the effort, there's 20 some odd, 21 here, 21 labeled objects. So if you had it for an observing project, that ain't a bad one. Let's see if I can make this go back. I put this one in mostly because of this picture right here. This is NGC 757, or can't quite. Yeah, 5775.
Yeah.
Part of this is covered up on my screen here. But this is a cool little galaxy in Virgo, nice edge on. This picture was taken with the VLR. This is electron plasma traces of the magnetic field lines emanating from the H2 regions. The traces are in 1.6 and 3 gigahertz. And so what you're seeing is electron flow of plasma coming either going into or going out of the H2 regions. I have yet to find any more information about that as far as, much more analysis, but I really dug the picture. I thought it was very cool. And that's part of the, if you're interested in that, it's the website for that is called Changes. It's pretty cool. One of everybody's favorites. It's not in the sky right now, but we love it. So you get to see it. M104 in Virgo, beautiful galaxy, nice edge on. Really easy to find. I mean, even if it wasn't so bright, it's still really easy to find. It's one of those things.
A
Great
good
thing
one
to
of your
put-
first objects that you should always be able to locate, on a small telescope as well.
Yeah, but this is probably one of the first ones we can reliably find.
Yeah.
I
With
would
our
say.
8-inch Cave Astrala, we could do that. Yep.
Okay, few planetary, the blinking nebula, M in 2028, 26, 8.8, small nebula, central star 11. I think most people are familiar with this. You stare at the star and you see the star, and when you look away, the nebula lights up for you. Another one in the sky right now, dumbbell, beautiful object.
It's one of my favorites. I always go to it.
Mark
Just,
finds this always for us.
it's
He does.
easy pickings. What's beautiful about these two, or at least like the blinking nebula, the dumbbell just fills your field anyway. But the smaller planetaries, if you got capability of aperture, you can magnify. We have the ability, and that's just that changes everything when you start magnifying. You see all kinds of detail you would never see, and then we have the capability of moving filters across our field. Bill's got. Bill, what filter do you have, and what do we have? We have two different filters. One's an oxygen 2, and the other is
We've got the O3, and we've got the O3 H beta filter too.
There we go. Okay, so we can go back and forth, and then no filter, and so you can look at this from like 3 different perspectives, and it's the planetaries are just absolutely wonderful.
And then we've got an H beta too, just to try to find the horse head. But to me, the other thing too is you start to magnify this object in particular, it stops blinking, you get too much detail, and the blinking kind of goes away. So that's one drawback of big aperture, if you want to call that a drawback.
Bob, we have a question. What is an H2 region?
Oh, we go back here. Here, let's see. These guys right here, H2. Whoa. Holy, let's tweak that out. This thing is tricky something. And again. H2 regions. Well, here, I'll just do it from here. See this bright red spot right here. This is like the Orion Nebula. So your H2 regions are doubly ionized hydrogen, H2, i.e. H2. And the Orion Nebula is loaded with that kind of thing. This is another all these red spots basically are what you're seeing is hydrogen gas that's been ionized by the surrounding stars. A lot of times they're O stars, very bright stars, but there's a lot of ionization going on, and thus the color. When we were saying, the O3 filter, that's because of oxygen. Basically, the oxygen line that you would pick up, similar to the hydrogen line that you pick up on an H2 region. So.
And we
Michael?
consider them stellar nurseries as
Yeah,
well.
definitely stellar nurseries.
Yeah, but the reason, I mean, the classification, whether H2 or O3, what they're referring to is different wavelengths of light that these different objects give off because of the type of material. It's either hydrogen or oxygen, one of the elements that's energized at a certain wavelength. And so it gives off a wavelength of a specific wavelength. And with specific filters, you can see these objects that you might not necessarily be able to see with the naked eye. The filters that you put in front of the eyepiece will show these areas. Okay, so that's kind of in a nutshell what those things are.
1 second. I hope I got a picture here. What did I do with that? I thought I had it.
Good question. Great question.
I don't think I have it anymore. I thought I had a Oh, well. Never mind. I thought I had a picture of the spectrum actually of a planetary nebula. And what it would show is it would show an oxygen spike, another oxygen spike, and then way down here, there's a hydrogen spike. I had it in here for a while. I got rid of it. I'm not sure why. Should have kept it. Never know. Okay, where were we? We were back here. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, more planetary nebula. This is, you know, as far as planetary nebula, these are, Aquila has got, there's 10 planetary nebula in Aquila. These are the two brightest that you know, we always look at basically. 70 or 6751, 12th magnitude is 20 seconds in extent, not very large. Has a fairly bright central star, and it's 65 million light years away. It does not look like this at all. The Hubble is cool, I love it, but man, it does not look like this at all. It looks like a little snowball basically with a bright star in the center when you're lucky, kind of thing. But hey, we love the Hubble. Look at that picture. This is 6781. Kind of looks like this minus the color. So this is pretty, you know, a pretty good rendering of what it actually does look like through our telescope. 35 million or 35,000 light years away. Pretty faint central star. Can't say that I've seen that or not, but it's a big nebula. You know, 1.9 degrees by 1.8 degrees, so it's pretty large. Here's some globs that are in the area. M13, everybody knows about that. And hopefully you're looking at this little guy up here, which is Galaxy 6207. Got some distances in here for you. Sometimes they boggle your mind, how they change. Found this picture of M92. This is another great globular. Tex usually pulls this one out after we look at M13. And I found this picture of it with Comet Jarrett here. And this was taken in 2012. So nice little glob. Pegasus has a nice, beautiful M15, 6 magnitude globular cluster. It definitely, you know, it's a very nice glob. It's good, always good to look at. I'm going to end with a few emission nebula everybody knows about. These are good to look at anytime. You know, we get the Trifid in the lagoon and some distances and stuff for your magnitude. The Swan really is one of my favorites. You know, the stripe, the lining that goes through here in this area, to me at times is just hard to believe what detail you can really see in that.
Spectacular with the filters on and off, like you do contrast differences with filters.
Sometimes you're looking at it and no filter is like you're most pleased with no filter. And other days it's just like, no, I need that filter. It just looks so cool with the filter. And it's actually different parts that look better. So it's not like one or the other in a lot of cases. It's like use them all. You get the full spectrum, so to speak.
Having that filter slide on the front of the scope has been one of the best additions we have made to that scope, because we could look through the different filters and have no filter without getting the eyepiece out and screwing one in the middle of the night and, you know, having a beer or two afterwards and stripping threads and stuff. But all you have to do is reach inside and slide to the different filters, and you're seeing different nebula. You know, you could be looking at the one nebula, but you could see 3 different nebula there.
Yeah, the filter slide is really cool. I like it a lot too. It's going in my 14. When we finish the 14, it'll have the filter slide. Definitely. But that's all I got. I mean, I could have done a whole bunch more. I mean, it was loaded. I had a lot of fun doing this. It was the most fun. I will say Astronomy Picture of the Day. If you want pictures, they're loaded. I'm sure you guys probably know that already. And the internet has now become a very good information source, in my opinion. You type in NGC 4565 magnitude and you'll get a magnitude. Type in NGC 4565 distance, you'll get a distance. I will say that a lot of the distances where I would find different places would say different things, and it was a little disconcerting. So at one point I thought I'd try to, you know, weed out what the differences were, but it was like, hey, you know, what's the difference between 75 and 80 million light years? You know, what the heck? So, But I had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it.
Hey, Bob, I found that Wikipedia is probably the best place to go to find up-to-date information on any object that's in the sky, because if you look at the bottom of the Wikipedia page, it's got all the newest information that's come in on it. And it's guys in the Astronomical Union that are the ones that are updating it constantly.
Great, because I did use Wikipedia a few times. Other times I was just on some cool page that some guy had a great picture with, kind of thing.
Yeah, like I said, look at the bottom of a Wikipedia page on that thing. It's like completely up to date.
Yeah, at one point, Doug, you're right. I was actually just using Wikipedia for a little while. I was just trying to search, and you can put in NGC numbers in Wikipedia, and it'll jump from NGC number to NGC number.
And like I said, it's all the latest thing. And sometimes it's even what the controversy is between what was and what they think now. And so you're right, you're even up to date on the argument pro and con on issues that are going on.
Yeah, I've always wondered that, Andromeda, when I was in college, Andromeda was 2.2 million light years away.
Right.
And now it's 2.5. And I'm like,
Right.
What is this? Cepheid variable adjustment or what?
We're getting closer.
Yeah, we're going to zero in on this a lot, Anyway, any other questions, comments?
Well, Michael Chapman's been asking questions on text, and Michael, if you want to turn on your microphone, ask anything you want, go for it.
Yeah, go for it. Man.
Okay, sorry, first of all, for having so many questions. I'm brand new to this hobby.
This is great.
Go
Go ahead. That's what we're here
That's
for.
what this is all about.
Like, I just saw Jupiter for opposition, my first time ever in my life, 2 weeks ago. And got the Galilean moons, and yeah, I thought that was awesome. But so, like with nebula and some of these galaxies, when you look through like your 22-inch, what do they actually look like?
You got to come up and have a look.
Yeah, I mean, the best way to do it, really, it's hard to say at times. If like looking at this picture right here, if we were to let's look at this one, because this is pretty close. If just take the color away.
Okay.
Take all the color away, take the color away, black and white, gray. So this is all shades of gray in the middle now. These are all shades of gray. Now, we were talking about filters a little while earlier too. And like these outer areas, if you were to use the H beta filter with the oxygen, you might see this area a little better, because I do believe this is hydrogen light out here. Somebody might correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just assuming because it's red, that is for hydrogen, and this more is the cooler oxygen O3 in the center.
Wow.
So, but if you were to look at this object, it would just make it shades of gray, and that's kind of what it looks like.
Yeah.
This Hubble screwed this up, man. It looks too good in the Hubble. You take all the detail away, and then again, shades of gray, pretty much. Let's see. Let's look at this guy's pretty close. I mean, shades of gray again, but we see this line go across. It gets bigger at this end. It gets bigger at this end. The little halos at the top and the bottom might not be quite as high, but it looks a lot like that. We're seeing a lot of this kind of detail in here. You'll definitely see that. I'm not too familiar with looking at this, but I think what you would see would be, again, shades of gray with somewhat of a black line highlighting going across in different places. These guys, just take the color away.
Wow.
Truly, take the color away. On a good night, you're seeing that you watch that spiral arm go all the way into the center, and you'll come out and watch the spiral arm come out cutting. It just looks just like that, basically.
And Bob is saying, when Bob says, and on a good night, those good nights, I won't go so far as to say they're far and few between, but getting detail such as these pictures, those spiral arms and such, that's going to be about every, second or third trip or so, it can be sometimes.
He's optimistic, but I agree, that I would agree.
You're not going to see that in the valley. You're going to see that, that's
Right.
6,500 feet plus.
Yeah.
You need some altitude, and you need some dark skies.
Yeah, I try to rather foolishly to try to find Andromeda with my father's telescope.
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I actually got a picture though of like the little fuzzball of Andromeda with my cell phone, but it took like a 4-second exposure to do it. But we just upgraded to an 8-inch Dobsonium that we're getting on the
Nice.
20th.
So, Michael,
Yes.
it's much easier to find Andromeda with a pair of binoculars than it
There
is
you
a
go.
telescope. The
Really?
more you magnify something, the dimmer it gets. There's a thing that you need to look up. It's called the inverse square rule. You magnify something twice, you get 1/4 the amount of light coming in.
Mhm.
So a pair of binoculars, if you look in the right part of the sky, and if you come out to the park here on the 29th, on Saturday, the 29th,
Mhm.
we can show you exactly how to find Andromeda with a pair of binoculars. Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really easy to find. And like I said, binoculars, just a pair of 7x35s. So it'll show right up.
Yeah, a lot of time, actually, the first telescope I use when I'm looking for something is a pair of binoculars.
Yeah.
You know, I'll get my binoculars out. I'll wear my guide stars because we're star hoppers. You know, we don't have any setting circles. We tried that for a little while and this is crazy because we were pretty good at star hopping. So, you know, you pull out a pair of binoculars, find all your guide stars. You might even find your galaxy. I have seen galaxies with a pair of binoculars for sure. I've seen M51 with a pair of binoculars from the Oaks Lawn at Santa Cruz. I saw the Crab Nebula that same night. So
It also helps having a 6-inch finder scope on the back of your 20.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah.
We tag team that a lot. Somebody's looking through the 6. Is this it? Is this it? And somebody's up at the top. Not. Oh, you found it.
I'd like to add something. You were talking about just take the colorway, but there are some colorful objects to look at. The
Oh, yeah.
planetary nebulas are green and their central
Yes,
stars
they're green.
are blue, but can look green.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
also, there's a few double stars out there that are multicolored. So you might get a blue and gold multiple star next to each other. So the colorful things will be the colorful double stars and the planetary nebulas and a couple of diffuse nebulas. Yeah, they're
Yeah,
right
these
next.
guys-
You can see
these-
green.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the nebula definitely. We always see color in the Trifid and the lagoon.
Yes.
You can see the blue here.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We get
Blues
color out of
blues and
those.
reds, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
You know, Ryan is the
Neutral
rhubarb
tone.
color. So
Yeah, Orion is spectacular.
Oh,
Just
is it?
spectacular in color? Yeah.
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 galaxies, you don't see color, but in the nebula, definitely.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sweet.
And,
Yeah.
and then looking at the planets, you look at Jupiter at altitude, and you can see color on Jupiter. No problem. Some color on Saturn with a filter. I think Bill and I were playing with that last time. It was pretty cool.
These guys come in color too a little bit. These little reds, you see these H2 regions as being a little bit red. So
Wow. Okay. Sweet. Yeah, no, I'm brand new, so like my enthusiasm is through the roof with all this.
Sure. And you like us, or we like you, you know, Bob and I started with Bill in his backyard with an 8-inch cave astrology. First, we started with an 8-inch Cassegrain, a 6-inch Cassegrain, and then we realized the Orion, that Andromeda was like a globular cluster, and we're like, well, this isn't working. We got up to an 8-inch Cassegrain. We're all borrowing these from West Valley College, and things were getting better. And then we got a cave astrology Newtonian, and I was like, okay, and that's what you're on now, right? You have an 8-inch Newtonian.
Yeah, we just got a Apertura Dobsonian.
There you go. Yeah. So that's your step right there, and that's where, you know, if you get up to your heliport with the guys here, they can show you how to find things.
Awesome.
Okay, and you know, I mean, like Bill can show you down in the valley, but it helps to get up in a little darker conditions. It's more
Right, yeah.
rewarding. I mean, I'm a snob, so I can't.
we are dark sky snobs. There's no doubt.
I'm a dark sky snob.
Yeah.
Ask Bill and Bob.
Coming up to astronomy in the park is your practice run. And then you head up to the high country to actually see the stuff.
There you go. Perfect.
I like
Some people
that.
think that the larger the mirror, the more color you see, but I find the closer you get to a rich field ratio, the more color you see. So if you can get that low enough power that you don't exceed your eyeball's entrance pupil, that's the most color you can see. So it doesn't really have to be a big optic. It just has to be what's called a fast optic.
Yeah.
And you guys don't recommend the apps like Solarium and Skywatch to find objects?
No, you could use those. Yeah, you could use those to plan your trip that night. What we just say, don't light up the viewing area with your iPad and your iPod.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, actually yell at you and throw things if you have a bright light at a star party.
I remember Bob and I being up at Fremont Peak, and there was a bunch of kids up there with white lights. And Charlie Stiffelmeyer yelling at them, "Turn those lights off!" And it was like this. They all went, "Bub, bub, 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 bub." We were all off, and he's like, there we go. It's like, AAU. That was the beginning.
Yeah.
Hey, Bob, Mark, I've got a question. Hey, you guys put on a great presentation. Bill, thank you very much.
You did, thank you.
Yeah, 3 questions. Did you mention, maybe I missed it, is your scope have a drive on it or you're all push to?
We're all push, and we've got the equatorial platform underneath it.
Okay.
So it's
I
got a
follow.
drive. It drives
Okay.
for like 70 minutes.
Yeah, it's like 70 minutes on the platform. Yeah. But everything, as far as finding things, it's all, you just push it around. Yeah. There's no
That
set-
was a game changer because
Oh,
you put
that-
like a planetary nebula at high power and you just leave it in the sweet spot and you just get your hands off because you have this Dobsonian flinch, we call it. You're
Yeah.
reaching for the tube and it's like, get your hands off the tube. Don't
Mhm.
touch it. This
It's there.
object stays in a
No,
sweet spot.
That platform added hours to our night, so to speak, because
Yeah,
we weren't
yeah.
running up and down the ladder,
Yeah,
moving things around
yeah.
for people. It's
Okay.
just,
And then you guys have mentioned several times you're viewing all night. Are you collimating throughout the night at different times? And additionally, I wanted to know, do you start out with a viewing plan of some kind or something in mind? Or are you just kind of randomly looking at objects throughout the night?
Got no plan.
not much plan. It's pretty random. It's like you look up in the sky. Whoa, that's Cetus. Okay, pull out the chart. What's in Cetus? You know,
Bill brings a clipboard of stuff.
Yeah,
Bill's
Bill has
organized.
lately. Yeah, a little.
Yeah. And we typically, we'll look up at the regions of the sky that's coming up. We know it well enough. We open up the chart. Bob opens up the charts, and then we just start going and start, like we'll just pick areas and sections and start diving in. Some of your favorites, and then moving around off of those. So it's usually kind of ad lib, like jazz. But at the same time, Bill brings a little plan, and he's got a plan. Like, I mean, if there's comets up, things like that, it's the things we want to, that are special, that are unique, that aren't up all the time, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Well-
Neptune, Uranus, that kind of thing.
All right, while we're
Luckily,
eating a
touch
good
of that.
steak, getting ready for the night's viewing or something when they'll allow us to barbecue. But we'll have the latest edition of Sky and Scope and what's in the sky. And we're able to find out what's the latest comet, what is this, what is that, and take a look at blind ourselves with the apps on the phones at that time and take a look at what is Jupiter going to be doing and what should we be seeing with Saturn and where are its moons? Are we going to see a red eye of Jupiter? Are we going to see an eclipse or an occultation of one of the moons where the Galilean moons? That's the cool stuff. And the deep sky objects are just, how many Nerly bobs can we pull out of this thing? The arms of the galaxy and such, and the clouds in the nebula. What can we see in these things? That's what the night is all about to us.
Yeah. You can
not
start the
really.
night out. You
Yeah.
can start the night looking at Jupiter, and you look at the moon alignment. If there is an occultation going to happen, you come back a little while later and see how the moons are shifting. You come back a little while later. Sometimes you're looking for when a red spot's going to appear. You can do that throughout the night and just see the changing landscape, on Jupiter. Okay.
One thing
That's
on
really
Jupiter
nice.
down here at the park, we watched a double eclipse. And we blew it up to the point where we could actually see the shadows of the moons across the
Yeah,
face of the
it's cool.
planet.
Yeah.
And that was
yeah.
that was down here at the park.
That's
Um,
cool.
The question was asked, Bob, are we culminating several times a
Yeah.
night?
I'm gonna answer that.
No.
As far as that goes, it's getting to be a bear to culminate the telescope at this point. We're actually got a new tube sitting in my backyard right now.
I think our answer is it's damn tough enough to do it once.
we get it called. I do a good job of collimating it beginning of the night, and we live through it the rest of the night. We've always pretty much done that. And in the past, when we had something happened on the trailer where the tube got a little jostled, and pretty sure at that point things got a little out of kilter at that point. And collimation has been a bear for the last few years. Before that, it was pretty darn good. No problem at all. Get it collimated, get everything lined up. It would look really pretty good. I'm not dealing with an offset, and I want to try to do that. I was going to talk to Jeff about that. We might try to add the offset in when we put in the new tube and add that part in. But it's generally with, the big knob and the rigidity of the tube and everything. We kind of, when everything was rigid and strong, it seemed to me that, it would remain collimated throughout the night. And when we're up multiple nights, it's the second night you look at it, now it's still collimated. So it wasn't really that big of an issue. I might have been fooling myself, but I hope not.
5.7 is extremely forgiving. I
Yeah.
think, with Mike's at f2.8, we check it about every hour and a half or so, but at f5.7, you've got a lot of forgiveness on that.
Yeah.
And as far as offset goes, you don't even need an offset at that focal ratio.
Oh, cool. That's a good news. Because right now, I was pretty happy with the way it was working before we had our little tube jostle, but now it's like I can see always see the side of the diagonal folder when I'm collimated. Something's not quite.
When you're collimating, you could see the edge of your primary mirror in your secondary, right?
I can see the edge of the secondary mirror. Yeah, I think that's
No, you can see the edge of your primary mirror in your secondary mirror.
I think that's
Yeah.
right.
Sure.
Yeah, because
we can.
your optic is so slow that your secondary mirror is luckily large enough. You don't need an offset in one collimation a night.
Oh, yeah, right. Yeah, I see what you mean there. Yeah.
Yeah, you're good.
No,
It
but
reminds
right
me-
now,
Go ahead.
right now, when I collimate and get it all, it's when it's truly collimated supposedly, and everything's lined up, I can still see things that I shouldn't see. It's like the diagonal is slightly at an angle, but everything's lined up. I don't know, it's hard to explain. It's really hard to explain.
But I'm leaving a mental note that I had an action item for getting a new secondary, right? Holder.
So you're talking to me on that?
No, that's
No, me.
I think he's
That's
talking to the AAU.
Note to myself.
That was an AAU action
Note to
item.
myself.
Well, if I remember right, you have a Coulter secondary mirror, so
Yeah,
we already, it's a third
Here we go.
mirror.
Nope. We have an Earl Watt. Oh, Coulter
No,
secondary.
the
Sorry.
Coulter second. We did have an Earl Watts secondary mirror a long time ago. Now we have a Coulter.
Yeah.
It had actually was octagonal.
You're going to get a new secondary mirror, so just hang on there. You got one coming.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yes. Awesome.
I don't know.
I'm second, Chris is third, and Mel's fourth, and then you guys.
No problem.
We're
But
way
we
down there.
need to look
Anyway.
That's all right. That's all
Unless
right.
you
We'll be
have
happy
the
to get in the queue.
You guys have something like a 3.6 minor axis?
It's no, it's bigger than that. It's 4. I think it's 4 1/4.
Okay, so that's
It's oversized. It's definitely big. I mean, when you look in, when you're calling me, it's like, wow, I got lots of extra diagonal. There's no doubt about it.
Well, 4 1/4 is a standard secondary that Coulter used to sell with their 17.5 at 4.5.
That's probably why we have it.
Well, that's
we
actually a
gotta-
good size for your 22 since it's an f5.7. So we'll.
Because I remember when we definitely got that from Coulter when we bought it. Yeah.
We'll interferometer it that one of these days and see what you got.
Okay.
Any other questions for the AAU? Michael, you got any more questions?
Not at the moment, no. Give me a week or two.
You always can send the
And-
your questions to Bill, and he'll be happy to forward them over.
Yeah, I'll forward them.
You
to
have our
Mark,
email
and then
address.
He will give them to
Discuss them.
Bob
Yeah.
and we will then give them to Jeff, but no, it doesn't stand for Amateur Astronomers Union.
Everyone's like, what are they talking about?
Many years ago, we were up at Fremont Peak, and there was a kid who was probably about, I don't know, 7, I'm guessing. And he was badgering us to look at something. I really mean badgering, because he was just so obsessed about it. And, you know, we've got a line of 25 people, and he's like, hey, I want to see this. And finally, you know, the lines mellowed out, and we found what he wanted. And as I recall, it was an open cluster. And I'm like, you're going to look right through this open cluster, but whatever. And his comment was, it looks better in my Tasco 4 or 3.
Bob, that was not a 7-year-old.
It wasn't?
No, that was a 20-something.
Oh, shows how much attention I paid to those.
And Mark was about ready to rip the kid's head off.
Yeah.
And I remember him actually using a curse word to him and saying, yeah, right. And we told him that we were going to nail his Tasco 4 onto the back of our 22 for ballast. And before that, we used to give a lot of people, we used to yell across the campground to shut off your white light and stuff. And that's how the AAU moniker came across. We were serious. It wasn't just astronomy. It was much more serious than that to us. So,
But,
Yeah.
and
you know,
and now we have a good time with it.
yeah, we have a good time with it. And as adults, older adults, we have learned that you can get more with honey than with vinegar. So if you go to, you know, if you knock on the camper and ask them, hey, welcome, come on out and have a look, you know, could you turn off your light? That kind of thing, you know. And we always stay up later than everybody anyway. So, you know, it doesn't have to be much past 11. At that point, you know, we're going to tell them, like, we're going to be up here all night. So
We will have our
you know,
revenge.
it's negotiable. Yeah, it's negotiable. I've learned I can get a lot more done as a program manager and a project manager by not like eviscerating somebody, but actually to negotiate and bring them into the reason and logic of what you want.
We will
Seduce
keep them
them.
up. We will keep them up all night, but they will wake us up when they're up in the morning, clanging
Yes.
and banging their pans around. But
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
I remember one morning Frisbee sitting in the tent.
Yeah.
Tell you how dedicated Mark is. He even has red lights on his headphones. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
yeah, he does.
And it's not even a dark room. You got red lights in your head. You're a weird dude.
I have red lights in my house and I make my wife walk around with red lights. I'm like, you don't need to have lights on, hun. You can just let your eyes adjust. And I'm stubbing my toe. Pow, ow, 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 ow. She's like,
Not
"What are you
sure I want to
doing?"
hear the rest of that story, but okay.
I'm with you, Jeff. I'm definitely with you.
You guys gave a really good presentation. We really appreciate it. Let's have a big round of applause for the AAU.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen and ladies.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it's all fun.
You all very much. I'm looking forward to looking through your scope some more and doing some work on
Yeah.
your scope. All right, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess it's coming back to me here. There are a few items before we head out of here. One of them is what already happened, and 3 of them are what's gonna happen. So the one that already happened was the occultation of Uranus. What night was that? Was that
Well, nights ago.
2 nights ago? I
2
think it
nights
was 2.
ago.
Man, that was awesome. Did anybody else see that?
I I tried from San Jose and got nowhere. The glow was just way too bright. I probably should have tried to look at when it reappeared, but I was already sleeping.
Well, we did it in Mike's backyard. I was using a 12 and he was using an 8. And we did find Uranus, and I was able to see the disk all the way up to the moon, and the moon was quite bright, but I was
Yeah.
able to see it, and it took about 2 seconds to fall in. And then the best part was an hour later when it came out from the dark side, making sure I had that scope right in the right spot. Man, I was lucky. I had it right on the right spot. And again, it took about 2 seconds for that thing to come out. I'd never seen a Uranus occultation until now. And it's really neat to see how green it is up against that dead neutral moon.
Mhm.
Okay, so things that are coming up. Saturday, the 22nd, let me do a little counting here. Yeah, Saturday, the 22nd, from 10 to 2 will be the ATM session at my house, 684 Pioneer in Lathrop. So if you want to work on a mirror or watch other people work on mirrors or just come and hang out, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. my house, we'll have telescope making workshop. One of the projects that day will be to get my hydrogen alpha filter working on my astrophysics. Another thing that's coming up, the newsletter may or may not come out in time. So I just wanted to make sure that we all knew it was coming. That is the lunar eclipse on November 7th, isn't it? Here, I'm gonna make an announcement. I don't even know the date.
Here, I got the computer here.
Okay, Eric's gonna look at it.
Another occultation of Uranus.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I know there's a occultation of Mars coming up in December, but anyway, before I have this in the October newsletter, so we can still check it, but November 8th.
7th to 8th, yeah, that's what it's showing.
It's going to be, that's going to be the lunar eclipse. That's going to be on the 8th.
But it's in the AM.
Starts at about midnight.
It's the night of the 7th.
The night of the 7th, the morning of the 8th. There we go. And so anyway,
It's at specifically November 8th, 2:59 AM. This is what it's showing here.
that's probably
For in Stockton.
that's probably mid. Make sure you check your times, but that will be worth watching.
That's the maximum.
Jerry says there's another occultation of Uranus.
Right after it comes out of the eclipse.
Okay, bad. That would be really cool.
Yeah.
So we have multiple events.
Cool.
And then, so we've got the eclipse coming, the Mars occultation coming, another Uranus occultation coming. And the other thing I have is, we are having our giveaway, but you have to be present to win. So all you guys in Zoom land, you're all losers now. As well as almost everybody in this room. So when I did my random selection, the gift card that Mike bought, Mike won. So he says, no, I'm going to take it. So I did another random selection and Doug is the winner. You won before, didn't you? What's that? It's on the floor. That's all right. Just throw it on the ground. Sure. Okay. He got it. That was good. So he missed it. It's not my fault that his arms are too short.
I have a knuckle breaker, you know. This works. I brought the coffee for tonight, so we have.
Oh, good.
Nice.
And you guys in Zoom land, you can enjoy your own coffee.
We're enjoying the smell of good coffee in here, by the way.
Keys and you guys don't. Okay, Mike, I'm done. Here you go.
Okay, any other topics or points of concern that we need to talk about tonight? All right.
Jerry, you need not to go over there.
Right, and me as well. All right. So anyway, I'm going to call a meeting closed, and I want to thank everyone for attending. Thank you, gentlemen, for a great presentation. I really enjoyed it.
Glad you liked it.
All right,
Oh,
so,
yeah, I've got one more thing.
all right.
Next month, Lonnie Robinson and I are going to do a mirror making presentation. And it will be here at the Oak Grove Center. It's December that we're going to move over to the San Joaquin County. So next month, right here at Oak Grove, will be the mirror making presentation.
And those of you,
Question,
Go
will
ahead.
you have like stuff there at the center, you know, little mirror making things, or is it just going to be slides?
No, I'm going to bring a few things. Lonnie's going to bring a few things. We will have slides. We'll have a couple demos. I can't bring everything because that'd be like 7,000 pounds of crap.
Yeah.
But we'll bring some stuff, some mirrors, maybe a couple demos. And
Okay, cool.
it will be slicker to see it here
Yeah,
than it
that's what I
would
was
be at
thinking.
home.
Yeah,
Um,
might have to actually make the drive.
Right. So I'll try to make it worth your while if you can make the drive.
Cool. Appreciate it.
And by the way, Lonnie is a premier mirror maker. So
Yeah, we met him. We met him the last time I was out. That guy was definitely,
Yeah,
loaded
you
with
guys
it.
are in for a real treat to hear this. If you want to know anything about mirror making, I mean, there's no limit to what these two characters can do. So since
Yeah, I
I've
was
known
impressed the
Jeff,
last time.
we started out with my 32-inch. All I wanted was a Coulter quality mirror. And by the time we got done, it evolved and evolved and evolved. And the level of sophistication was unbelievable. Now he's taking it one step up, where he's checking it in all directions pretty much. The Hartman test and doing it with, well, anyway, he can talk about all this. It's definitely worth listening to.
just give it all away.
No. You got lots to talk about, buddy. All right. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much and good night. Be safe.
Good
Good night,
night.
everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Night, guys.